Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and comment below the article to hear more interesting stories. Now, let's start listening to this story. What if the person you loved most turned your grief into their gain, leaving you with nothing but a fight for justice? My name is Clara Bennett, a 34-year-old graphic designer from Boston. I'd spent my life chasing stability, pouring my heart into my work, all to make my parents proud. My dad passed 2 years ago, leaving my mom as my rock until she got sick last spring. Her death hit me like a freight train, grief so heavy I could barely breathe. But nothing prepared me for the betrayal that came next. A betrayal that tore my family apart. Mom left behind a modest inheritance, $200,000, her life savings, meant to be split between me and my older brother, Ethan. We'd never been close. Ethan was always the golden child, charming but reckless, racking up debts with his failed business ventures. I thought Mom's will would bring us together, a final gift to mend our bond. I was wrong. A week after her funeral, I sat in the lawyer's office, my hands cold, my eyes still puffy from crying. Ethan was there, his smile too wide, his suit too crisp. The lawyer, Mr. Daniels, cleared his throat, his voice flat. Clara, Ethan, your mother's will has been updated. She left everything to Ethan. My heart stopped, a sharp pain slicing through me. What? I whispered, my voice barely audible. Ethan didn't even flinch, his eyes glinting with triumph. She wanted me to have it, Clara, he said, his tone smug. You know I need it more. I felt the room spin, grief and rage colliding inside me. Mom wouldn't do this. She'd always been fair, always promised we'd share everything. I thought of her frail hands holding mine, her last words. Take care of each other. This wasn't care, this was theft. I stood, my legs shaky, my voice trembling. Ethan, this isn't right. Mom wouldn't change her will like that. Not without telling me. He leaned back, his smirk widening. Believe what you want, Clara. It's done. Inside, I was a storm. Betrayal burned in my chest, grief twisted my gut, and a quiet, seething anger took root. Ethan had always been selfish, but this was a new low. I'd trusted him to honor Mom's wishes, and he'd spat on her memory. The fallout was brutal. I had to move out of my apartment. My savings were drained from Mom's medical bills, and I'd been counting on my share to start over. I rented a tiny studio, the walls thin, the air stale, my nights filled with sobs. Ethan, meanwhile, flaunted his new wealth, posting photos of a shiny car, a luxury vacation, all on Mom's money. Each post was a dagger, my anger growing with every swipe. My friends urged me to let it go, to move on, but I couldn't. I saw Mom's face in my dreams, her disappointment haunting me. Had I failed her? Was I too weak to fight? Self-doubt gnawed at me. But beneath it, a fire flickered. I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting for her legacy. Then came the first threat. A letter slipped under my door, the words scrawled in jagged ink. Drop the will dispute, or you'll regret it. My heart pounded, fear gripping me as I scanned the empty hallway. Ethan's face flashed in my mind, his smirk, his greed. I called the police, but they dismissed it as a prank, leaving me alone with my terror. I had 60 days to contest the will before it was finalized, a ticking clock that kept me awake. My hands shook as I clutched the letter, my resolve hardening. Ethan thought he'd broken me, but he'd only awakened a side of me I'd buried, a fighter, ready to reclaim what was mine. I had a secret, a glimmer of hope I'd kept hidden, and it was time to use it. The threatening letter marked the beginning of a nightmare that tested every shred of my strength. As Clara Bennett, a grieving daughter fighting for my stolen inheritance, I locked my studio door each night, the creak of every floorboard sending my heart racing. The words, "Drop the will dispute, or you'll regret it," echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of Ethan's cruelty. Was he capable of this? The thought tore at me, a mix of disbelief and dread. He'd been my brother, my protector when we were kids, but his greed had turned him into a stranger. Inside, I was a mess. Grief for Mom choked me, betrayal burned my trust, and a simmering anger pushed me to act. I couldn't prove the threat came from Ethan, but I couldn't ignore it either. The police were useless, leaving me to install a cheap lock, my hands trembling as I secured it. My days blurred into a frantic rhythm, searching for evidence, dodging Ethan's taunting calls, and avoiding the pity in my friends' eyes. He'd bought a yacht, his social media a parade of excess. Each post a slap in the face. My confidence wobbled, doubts whispering I'd never win. Had Mom really trusted him more? Was I delusional to fight? But her voice cut through the noise. "You're enough, Clara," and a flicker of hope reignited. What Ethan didn't know was my secret weapon. Before Mom got sick, she'd given me a USB drive, her voice weak but firm. "Keep this safe, Clara. It's my real will." I tucked it away, too overwhelmed to check, but now it was my lifeline. I plugged it into my laptop, my heart pounding as I opened the file. There it was, her voice, recorded 6 months before she died, detailing her wishes. "I leave my estate equally to Clara and Ethan." My breath caught, relief flooding me, but also a new fear. This proved Ethan's fraud. But using it meant facing his wrath, and with the 60-day deadline looming, 55 days left, time was slipping away. I sought an ally in Sophie, my mom's best friend, meeting her at a quiet cafe in Boston. "Sophie, Ethan forged the will," I said, my voice low, playing the recording. Her eyes widened, a mix of shock and anger. "Clara, this is huge. But Ethan's dangerous. He's got shady friends. You'll need more than this to win." My stomach twisted, the pieces falling into place. Sophie agreed to testify but warned, "You need to prove the new will's a fake. Dig into his lawyer." She was right. I needed hard evidence, and the clock was ticking. The threats escalated. One night, my car window was smashed, a new note inside. "Last warning, back off." My heart raced as I called Sophie, my voice breaking. "He's coming for me," I gasped. She arrived with a locksmith, her face grim. "This is beyond family," she said. "File a report, and let's get you legal help." I did, the officer's skepticism fueling my resolve. A lawyer, David, took my case, reviewing the recording. "This is strong," he said, "but we need to prove fraud. We'll subpoena Ethan's lawyer's records tomorrow." The move was risky. Ethan could strike harder, but I had no choice. I threw myself into the fight. My studio, a war zone of papers and timelines. My mind, a battlefield. Grief for Mom clashed with rage at Ethan. Hope battling despair. I dug into Ethan's past, finding a pattern, debts, scams, a history of deceit. My hands shook as I uncovered a forged signature on the new will, the ink too fresh for Mom's timeline. The deadline was 50 days away, and Ethan's yacht party was announced, a celebration of my loss. I felt the noose tighten, my every move watched. But beneath the chaos, my recording and the forged signature were my edge, a ticking bomb ready to expose his lies. The subpoena for Ethan's lawyer's records marked the beginning of the end, a ticking clock that led to the most intense day of my life. As Clara Bennett, I stood in the Boston courthouse, my heart pounding, clutching my evidence, the USB recording, the forged signature, and Sophie's statement. The past 50 days had been a gauntlet. Threats, smashed windows, and Ethan's smug yacht party, where he toasted to family legacies while I hid in fear. Inside, I was a storm. Fear of failure gnawed at me, rage at his betrayal fueled my resolve, and a fragile hope anchored me. Today was my chance to reclaim Mom's legacy, but the stakes were sky high. The courtroom was packed. Family friends, Ethan's shady allies, and the judge, a stern woman named Judge Harper, sat at the bench, her gaze piercing. Ethan was there, his smirk venomous, seated beside his lawyer, Mr. Daniels, who'd orchestrated the fraud. My lawyer, David, stood by me, his presence a lifeline. "Clara has evidence proving fraud," he began, his voice steady. I played the recording, Mom's voice echoing through the room, detailing her true wishes. Gasps rippled, Judge Harper's eyes narrowing. Then, the forged signature. Expert analysis confirmed the ink was recent, impossible for Mom's timeline. Ethan falsified the will, I said, my voice breaking with emotion. He stole my share, our mother's wish. Ethan leapt up, his face red. "She's lying," he shouted, his composure shattering. "That recording's fake." Inside, his outburst fueled my fire. The years of sibling trust betrayed flashing before me. Sophie stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I heard Ethan brag about changing the will. He paid Daniels to forge it." The room erupted. Judge Harper's gavel slamming. Ethan turned to Daniels, pleading, but he looked away, his loyalty crumbling. David presented the subpoenaed records, emails between Ethan and Daniels, planning the fraud with a $10,000 payment. "This is criminal," David said, his voice sharp. The tension was palpable, my heart pounding as Judge Harper deliberated. Inside, I was a mess. Fear of disbelief clashed with hope, the weight of the past 2 months crushing me. Then, a bombshell. A witness, one of Ethan's allies, turned on him, confessing he'd delivered the threatening notes at Ethan's request. The courtroom gasped, Ethan's scream piercing the air. "You traitor," he shrieked, but Judge Harper's voice cut through. "Ethan Bennett, you're guilty of fraud and intimidation. The original will stand. Clara inherits her share, and you'll face charges." The crowd buzzed. Ethan's glare burning into me, a silent promise of revenge. I stood frozen, relief flooding me, but also a chilling unease. Judge Harper turned to me, her tone softer. "Clara, your mother's wishes are honored. You're awarded your share, plus damages." The words hit me like a wave, my knees weak, my mind reeling with the cost, fear, grief, the brink of ruin. As I left the courtroom, a text from David lit my phone. "He's facing jail time. Stay safe." The war wasn't over, but the battle was mine. Ethan's lies had crumbled, and Mom's legacy was safe. The courtroom victory was a bittersweet triumph, a beacon of light after months of darkness. As Clara Bennett, I stood in my new apartment, the $100,000 inheritance, plus $20,000 in damages, funding a fresh start. The judge's words still echoed, "Your mother's wishes are honored." A victory I'd earned through tears and terror. But inside, I wrestled with a complex tapestry of emotions, relief washing over me, pride swelling for Mom's legacy, and a lingering fear from Ethan's threats. The notes, the smashed window, they'd left scars. But I'd fought and I'd won. The transition was swift. I moved into a cozy apartment, the walls painted a soft blue, a tribute to Mom's favorite color. My design business thrived, clients drawn to my story of resilience, their trust a healing force. But my mind often drifted to Ethan, his empire of lies shattered. News reports showed his trial, his tearful pleas, and I felt a cold satisfaction. Inside, I grappled with my feelings. Part of me wanted to revel in his ruin, to savor the justice, but another part, a softer, wiser part, mourned the brother he'd been. I chose to focus on my healing, letting karma do its work. Ethan's downfall was complete. Convicted of fraud and intimidation, he faced 3 years in prison, his assets seized to pay fines. I watched the verdict on TV, his handcuffs a stark image, and felt a mix of closure and unease. A letter arrived, his handwriting shaky. "I'm sorry, Clara. I lost myself." My chest tightened. Memories of our childhood flashing by, him teaching me to ride a bike, us laughing over Mom's cookies. I didn't respond. Forgiveness was a bridge too far, but I kept the letter. A piece of our past I couldn't erase. My focus shifted to building, not destroying. With my inheritance, I honored Mom's memory. I donated a portion to a cancer charity. Her illness a shadow I'd never forget, and started a scholarship in her name for aspiring artists. My business grossed $500,000 that year, my reputation soaring. I reconnected with family, hosting a memorial for Mom, her friends sharing stories that warmed my heart. "She'd be so proud," Sophie said, hugging me. I forgave their silence during the ordeal. Their love a bonus I hadn't expected. One evening, as I stood on my balcony, the Boston skyline aglow, a suspicious shadow lingered across the street. My heart raced, old fears resurfacing. But I called the police. They found nothing, likely a remnant of Ethan's allies. I installed cameras, my resolve unshaken. My life flourished, my net worth climbing, my heart healing. I wrote a book about my journey, Legacy of Truth, inspiring others to fight for justice. Ethan's betrayal had nearly broken me, but it forged me into a warrior, Mom's spirit in every step. I was unstoppable, and her love lived on through me. What do you think about the character in the story? Please comment below the article and subscribe to the channel to receive more interesting stories.